Catherine Starr vanished in 1973. 370 passengers, gone without a trace. She resurfaced 3 nights ago. No crew, no signal, no survivors. Just a manifest. Nights like that, they crawl. The kind where the silence isn't just outside. It gets into you, sits behind your eyes, makes every little sound feel like something's about to start. I was alone on shift, middle of nowhere, coastal Alaska. My world, concrete, cold coffee, and the glow of radio monitors. I had a cup of noodles in my hand, steam curling up like it was trying to escape. That smell, cardboard and salt, almost comforting. Static whispered on the speakers, usual noise, no voices, no signals, no ships, just the empty air buzzing through old wires. I leaned back, let it all blur. Another dead night. Then something changed. A break in the static, sharp, subtle, like a breath I wasn't supposed to hear. I leaned forward, tuned the dial slow, and there it was. Faint, broken, but real, a woman's voice, coming through a long-dead frequency, one we hadn't used in decades. She said, "This is the Catherine Starr. Mayday. Passenger manifest incomplete." I stopped breathing. Catherine Starr. I knew that name. Everyone around here did. But for me, it was different. I typed it into the system, hands shaking. There it was. Civilian liner. Disappeared in 1973. Final transmission logged just off Prince William Sound. Same place my father vanished. Same day. I stared at the screen, the cursor blinking like a pulse. The signal didn't come back, but it didn't feel over. It felt like something had just opened its eyes. They scrambled a bird at dawn, didn't even question the signal. Just sent us straight into the sky like it was routine. Miller was the pilot. Calm, didn't talk much. Larson rode in the back with the gear. Technician, good at staying busy. I sat up front, headset on, watching the coastline peel away under the blades. Clear skies, dead calm. Mountains in the distance, still sleeping under snow. Almost beautiful. Almost. No one said it out loud, but we all knew where we were going. Prince William Sound. The place that swallows ships. And sometimes doesn't give them back. About halfway there, Miller finally spoke. "You ever hear the story of the ship that sails backward through time?" I glanced at him. He didn't smile. Larson cut in from the back. "Out here, I've heard 'em all. Ghost trawlers, lights under the ice, whole villages just gone." I didn't say anything. Didn't tell them my father was one of the gone. Then the fog started rolling in. Fast, like it wasn't drifting. More like it was being poured. Our instruments went twitchy. Miller adjusted altitude, slowed down. Visibility dropped to nothing. And then, just like that, it was there. A shape. Huge. Silent. Rising out of the white like it had been waiting under the surface. Steel hull. Gleaming rails. Flags still. No rust. No wear. The name stretched across the bow in perfect black letters. Catherine Starr. Not a wreck. Not a ghost. She looked like she'd never left. Like time had stopped for her. And now, it was starting again. We circled once, low and slow. Catherine Starr didn't move, didn't creak, didn't breathe. She just sat there like she'd never been gone. One of the upper airlocks was open. Not wide, just enough. Like someone forgot to close it, or left it that way on purpose. Miller held the chopper steady while Larson and I dropped onto the deck. Metal under my boots, solid, clean. Not a speck of rust. It felt wrong, not dangerous. Just untouched. We pushed into the corridor just past the hatch. Lights were on, soft, golden. No flicker. No sound, except for the hum of old power still running. And then, music. Faint, somewhere deeper inside. A record, not a speaker. Moon River, playing like nothing had changed since 1973. Larson looked at me, confused. I didn't say anything. What could I say? We followed the sound, down the main hall, past emergency maps and framed photographs bolted to the walls. Everything was clean, not just preserved, lived in. A hallway cart sat outside a door, tea set on top, 1 cup, still steaming. We reached the main lounge, the source of the music. A record spun on an old turntable, needle steady, Moon River drifting through the air, slow and sweet. Tables set, chairs slightly pulled back, like people had just stood up. A newspaper lay open on the bar, dated March 16th. The crossword half finished, no dust, no mold, no signs of panic, just waiting, the kind of stillness that isn't empty. The ship didn't look haunted. She looked expectant, like we'd arrived late to something that never ended. The cabins felt too quiet, not abandoned, just paused. Each door we passed had a number, some open, some closed. No damage, no dust, no decay. Inside, it was like someone had just stepped out for a moment. Beds still sunken from weight, covers wrinkled, shoes placed neatly at the foot of chairs, tablecloths slightly askew, like someone had brushed past. And the mirrors, they were fogged, but the air was dry. Larson kept moving, checking power lines, muttering about how everything was still active. I couldn't focus. I kept stopping, looking in, feeling like I was being watched, but not in a threatening way. More like the ship wanted me to see. Room 414. That's where I stopped. Door half open, curtains swaying even though no window was open. It was small, just a bed, a chair, a desk. And on the desk, a photograph, black and white, curled at the edges. 2 figures, a man in uniform, and a boy beside him. 5, maybe 6. The boy looked nervous, hair sticking up, big ears. I knew that face. It was mine. I picked it up. I'd never seen that photo before. Never been on this ship. But that was me. And the man was my father. Handwritten on the back, March 9th, 1973. First voyage together. I sat down, forgot to breathe. How? Why? I'd never stepped on this vessel before. But the photo said otherwise. Maybe this wasn't my first time here. Maybe I'd just forgotten. Or maybe the ship remembered better than I did. The bridge was sealed, but the door gave way without a fight, like it knew we were coming. Inside, dim light, 1 flickering lamp over the helm. The rest was shadows and silence. Everything was still in place. Charts rolled tight in a rack. Control panels dark but intact. No dust, no decay, no sign of chaos. Just one thing on the captain's desk. A leather-bound logbook, thick, damp at the edges, like it had been soaked, and then carefully dried. It was already open. The ink had bled a little, but the words were still there. They came from the sea. They didn't speak. They didn't leave. They're still here. We are not alone. My throat went dry. I turned the page. Blank. Next one, also blank. As if the story ended right there. Larson powered up the main console. Old systems blinked to life like they'd just been asleep. And then we heard it. Voices, ours. Me saying, "Power's still live. That's not possible." Larson answering. Maybe it's geothermal or... Then static. Then the same thing again. Same words, but different. A beat off. Like someone repeating us. Not quite right. Like the ship was playing us back, studying our voices, or recording them. Another sound filtered in. Beneath the loop. Low, cold, Human. They wait. Not over the comms, not from the system, from somewhere inside the ship itself. Something was listening, and it wanted us to know. Larson said he'd check the engine room. Said it like it was no big deal, like he just needed answers, and they were waiting somewhere below the deck. He clipped on his headset, took a flashlight, disappeared down the corridor without looking back. I stayed near the bridge, watching the monitors, listening. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, a crackle in the headset. Still powered down here. Vents are running. Lights. Fresh. His voice was tight, off. Feels like the room's been underwater. Smells like brine, but everything's dry. Silence. Then, softer. I think something's moving. And that was it. The line stayed open, but no more words came through. I called his name over and over. No answer. Just the low hum of open static. Miller and I followed the route he'd taken, step by step, down the maintenance stairs, past sealed bulkheads. The deeper we went, the warmer it got, and wetter. The air was thick, not humid, wet. We reached the main corridor outside the engine room. Steam coiled from the vents, slow and steady like breathing. And on the floor, something small, a metal tag. Larson's, still clipped to its chain, soaked, dripping. But the floor beneath it was dry. I picked it up. Cold, too cold. Miller stared at it, then whispered, "There's no water here." But he was wrong. There was water here. It just didn't follow the rules anymore. And neither did this ship. I kept moving. I don't even know why. Maybe I thought if I kept walking, I wouldn't vanish too. I was walking alone now. Didn't even realize I'd left Miller behind. The halls seemed longer, thicker, like the ship was stretching itself out the deeper I went. The lights buzzed overhead, just enough glow to see shapes, not details. I passed a corridor lined with mirrors, floor to ceiling. Strange for a vessel like this. No reason for so many. At first, I didn't look. Just kept moving. But something pulled at me. I stopped, turned my head, looked straight into one of them, and froze. My reflection blinked first, not after me, before me. I tilted my head. It was already moving. Raised my hand. It beat me to it. Only by a second. But enough. It wasn't a lag. It was leading. I leaned closer. The glass was perfectly clear. Too clear. I could see every line in my face, every doubt behind my eyes. And then, something else. A shadow. Not mine. Behind me. Standing still. No detail, no face. Just the shape of someone. Watching. I turned. Nothing. But something wet hit my shoulder. I looked up. A drip. From the ceiling. Another. Then another. The mirror fogged slightly. Just at the edges. Then, a voice. Behind me. Low. Familiar. Not you again. I turned. Nobody there. You always come too late. The voice wasn't angry. It was tired. Like it had said those words before. Like it had been waiting a long time to say them again. The corridor felt tighter than it had before. Same walls, same lights, but the space between them, smaller somehow, like the ship was inhaling, slow and deep. The air pressed in around me, heavy, not hot, thick, like breathing through cloth. The lights above flickered, once, then again, not randomly, like a rhythm, a pulse, something deeper than the engines, something alive. I moved forward, careful, quiet. The floor creaked just enough to remind me I wasn't dreaming. Then the glass started to fog, not from me. It rolled across the windows like breath on skin, and I hadn't breathed. I reached out. My fingers hovered over the railing, not quite touching, and I felt it. Warm, damp, Flesh. A hand. Already there. Lying under mine. I jerked back, heart kicking hard in my chest. But nothing moved. No sound. No footsteps. Just presence. I turned to the window beside me. There was an outline. Faint. A print. A handprint. Right where mine would have landed. But I hadn't touched it. I stared at it, waiting for it to fade. It didn't. The fog only thickened, blurring my own reflection until it looked like someone else. Someone close. Too close. The ship wasn't just full of memories. It was remembering me back. I started hearing things I hadn't said. Not out loud. Not yet. Whispers. Soft. Close. Trailing just ahead of me, like they were being spoken a second before I could think them. I'm not supposed to be here. That one hit hard, because it was mine. My exact thought, word for word, but I hadn't formed it. Not fully. It was just rising up when I heard it, already spoken. I turned the corner and stopped cold. There was someone standing at the far end of the hall, not moving, not breathing. Wearing the same kind of suit I was. Emergency response gear, reflective stripes, patch on the shoulder, but no face. Just the shape where a face should have been. Flat, smooth, like the sea on a windless day. It didn't approach, didn't raise a hand. But I heard it again in my voice. Turn around. I stepped back. It didn't move. Another whisper. Softer now. You're too late. My head was spinning. Nothing lined up. Time felt loose. Like the ship was rewinding parts of me, playing them out of order. I shut my eyes, just for a moment. And I heard myself think. Or maybe speak. Or maybe hear. This isn't memory. This is rehearsal. When I opened them, the hallway was empty. But I still felt the echo, like something had tried me on, and wasn't finished yet. I took the lower stairs alone. Didn't ask. Didn't tell Miller. Just felt pulled. Like the ship was guiding me somewhere it wanted me to go. The air grew hotter with every step. Not just warm, wet. Salt clung to the walls, the railing, my skin. By the time I reached the engine room, I could barely see. Steam drifted like smoke, thick and slow. The lights down there weren't lights. Just pale glows, pulsing behind metal panels, like something breathing through the walls. And then, water. It lapped at the floor, just an inch, maybe two, but moving. Not pooling, flowing, like the ship was filling itself from below. I stepped in, boots disappearing. The salt stung my skin through the fabric. No sign of Larson, no gear, no sound, except a voice. Small, close, a child. You're not here to save them. It wasn't a recording. It wasn't memory. It was real. Spoken. And I recognized it. My voice. Not now. Younger. Fragile. You're here because you never left. I turned in place, slow, trying to see through the mist. But there was nothing. Just the groaning of old metal and the sound of water rising. I moved forward. The ground sloped slightly, and the water deepened. By the time I reached the far wall, it was at my knees. I looked down into it, and for a moment, I thought I saw my reflection, smiling. But the eyes were closed. I should have turned back, but the deeper I went, the more the ship felt familiar. The surface of the water barely rippled. It was too still, too perfect, like glass pretending to be something deeper. I leaned closer and saw my own face looking back. But something was wrong. It smiled, just a little. A twitch at the corner of the mouth. I hadn't moved. Then it tilted its head, slightly left. I was still, frozen. It moved first, not a reflection, a rehearsal. Its eyes were closed, but the smile stayed. I stared, waiting for it to fade. to catch up, to become me again. It didn't. Behind me, I heard a breath. Not mine. Not close, but not far either. The kind of breath that doesn't want to be heard, but can't help escaping. I turned. Slow. Careful. Nothing there. Just pipes. Steam. Dripping salt. But the walls felt closer. The water higher. And my reflection, still smiling. Still not me. I backed away, and the ship seemed to breathe with me. Every movement echoed, a half-second late, like something was following inside the steel, mimicking, recording, learning. I looked back down one last time. The reflection opened its eyes, and I stopped being sure which side of the water I was on. I don't remember how I found the door. One second I was moving through steam, the next, facing a hatch I swear hadn't been there before. No markings, no lights, just metal. It opened when I touched it. Inside, a narrow room. Cold, dry, nothing like the rest of the ship. Shelves lined both walls, floor to ceiling, drawers, binders, tags hanging from hooks. The air smelled like paper that had never been turned. Everything labeled, names, dates, cabin numbers, passenger manifests. I pulled one file at random. A man from Vancouver, ticketed, room 306, status on board. Another, a woman, mid-30s, disappeared with her husband, manifest confirmed. Every folder said the same thing, complete, accounted for, checked in. Until I saw mine, tucked near the end, misfiled like it didn't belong. I opened it. My name, spelled exactly right. Middle initial, date of birth, but no room number, no check-in. Just one note, typed in black ink, manifest status, incomplete, awaiting return. I stared at it for a long time, trying to remember if, maybe, somehow, I had been here before. If there was a gap in my memory I'd never dared to look at. The folder felt warm in my hands, alive. The room around me hummed, low and steady, like the heartbeat of something too big to see. I stepped back, but the paper stayed in my hand, heavy, like it knew the truth before I did. I don't know why I stayed. I should have run, should have thrown that file on the floor and backed out into the fog. But I didn't. Something in that room was waiting for me to watch. One of the ledgers lay open on the table in the center. Thick pages, yellowed, but not old. The ink was fresh, still drying in places. And then I saw it move. Not the paper, the writing. Letters forming, right in front of me. Slow, careful, as if a hand I couldn't see was pressing the pen. A name appeared. My father's. I froze. I hadn't said it out loud, hadn't thought it clearly. But there it was, written like it had always been there. Then, just below it, another. My name. Full, sharp, still wet. I reached out to touch the ink, and it smeared on my fingertips. Real, not memory, not metaphor. I watched as one final word appeared beneath both names. Returned. It hit me like a wave I never saw coming. The manifest wasn't a list. It was a mouth. And I had just been spoken. I sat on the floor for a long time. Didn't move, didn't blink. The room around me felt thinner, like the walls weren't there anymore. Just the idea of them. The ledger lay open beside me. My name. My father's. One beneath the other, like it had always been that way. But I had never boarded this ship. Not in 1973. Not ever. At least, that's what I believed. I went through the rest of the file. Passenger count, 212. Cabins matched. Tickets matched. But one entry, mine, had no timestamp. No boarding record, just a placeholder, no arrival, no departure. Just this, status, pending. Manifest incomplete. It was never about finding someone missing. It was about someone overdue. Me. Not a visitor, not a rescuer. A gap in the ledger. A space left open. For someone who was always meant to return. I thought of the photo. The one with my father and the boy. The one that looked like me, because it was me. I hadn't found the ship. The ship had been waiting for me to come back. And it never stopped keeping my place. I thought knowing the truth would set me free. Instead, it started the engine. The hum under the floor changed. Low at first, like a vibration buried deep in the bones of the ship. Then it rose. Steady, rhythmic, mechanical, movement. I stood, stumbled to the hallway, and felt the tilt beneath my feet. We were moving, not drifting, driven, no wind, no wake. Just the slow, deliberate pull of something massive shifting through water. But we weren't heading to shore. We were going deeper, out toward open sea, or something under it. I looked through a porthole, barely visible through the fogged glass. No land, no light, just the water stretching into nothing. Then, shapes, below the surface, dark, motionless, dozens, maybe more. Figures, not swimming, not floating, waiting. I pressed my hand to the glass. One of them turned, or maybe it was just the current shifting around it. I couldn't tell where the shape ended and the sea began. They weren't coming for us. They didn't need to. We were coming to them. The ship knew the way, and it was already too late to turn around. I heard it again before I saw the room. That same melody, Moon River. But this time, it wasn't right. The notes dragged, like the record was warped. Pitch just a little off, like someone trying to remember how the song was supposed to go. I followed it. The corridor opened into a lounge I hadn't seen before, identical to the one near the deck, but wrong somehow. The chairs were arranged in the same pattern, but the cushions were faded, torn, the carpet soaked, as if the sea had passed through and left quietly. The music played on, and the images started coming, room by room. Windows where there hadn't been any. Inside, scenes. Familiar, almost. My mother, laughing in the kitchen. But no sound came from her mouth. She moved like she was underwater. Then, another room. A birthday cake, 6 candles. A boy clapping his hands. But the face wasn't mine. Not quite. Close, but not. Like the memory was being rebuilt from pieces that didn't fit. I walked faster. More doors, more moments. A hallway from my childhood home, too long, too narrow. A man standing at the end of it, blurry and backlit. My father? I tried to speak, but my voice caught. The music swelled, off-key and echoing. Moon River, wider than a mile. But it wasn't singing anymore. It was circling, like the ship was playing it just for me, to remind me of what I'd lost, or maybe of what never really belonged to me in the first place. It all started folding in, the walls, the lights, the sounds, memories that weren't mine. Or maybe they were, but I'd buried them too deep to recognize. I stumbled through the corridors like they were rearranging around me. Every corner led back to the same hallway. Same doors, same silence. I called out, for Larson, for Miller, for anyone. No one answered. Just the ship, breathing, watching. And then, I saw it. A corridor lined with mirrors, again. But this time, no delay. No tricks. I looked into one, and the truth hit me so hard it nearly knocked the air out of my lungs. It wasn't just my reflection. It was me. Not now. Before. Wearing the same uniform. Standing in the same place, but younger, eyes wide, lost. like he didn't understand where he was or how he'd gotten there. And I remembered. The first time I heard the name Catherine Starr, I was a child. But it wasn't just a story. It wasn't just my father who disappeared. It was me. I'd been here. I'd boarded this ship, walked these halls, slept in one of these rooms, the photos, the manifest, the voice. It all made sense now. I wasn't a rescuer. I wasn't here to find answers. I was the answer. The gap in the records, the space they never filled, the passenger who never left, just took too long to realize it. The ship didn't need to trap me. It just needed me to remember. I found myself back on the bridge. I don't remember walking there. Don't remember the steps. Only the feeling, like the ship was done hiding. The captain's desk was just as we left it. But the logbook, it was open to a new page. Fresh, dry, the ink still glistening. One sentence, manifest complete. Returning. I read it once, then again. Each word hit harder than the last. I was the final name, the missing piece. Not an intruder, not a survivor. Just the one who'd taken too long to come back. All the silence, the echoes, the waiting. It wasn't for a rescue. It was for a reunion. The ship hadn't drifted back into the world by accident. It came for what it lost. And now, it had me. I woke up to stillness. No hum, no creak, no breath of wind. Just water, flat as glass, stretching in every direction. I was in a lifeboat, alone. The sky above was colorless, the kind of gray that feels endless. And the sea, too calm to be real. I sat up slow. My body ached, like I'd been dragged through something thick and ancient. I didn't remember leaving the ship, didn't remember climbing down, didn't remember choosing to survive. But the Catherine Starr was there, in the distance, moving. Not fast, not far, just gliding away, silent, untouched, like she was never meant to stay. I looked down at my hand, a page, torn from the captain's log, my name at the top. Beneath it, one word, scrawled in uneven ink. Returned. I stared at it, waiting for it to mean something more. But there was no revelation, no sudden clarity, just the hush of open water and the shape of a ship disappearing into the horizon. But even out here in the quiet, it wasn't over. Not for me. I sat there, floating in that silence. No birds, no waves. Just the sound of nothing stretching forever. The page in my hand trembled. Not from wind, from something else. Then I heard it. A voice I hadn't heard since I was a boy. Low, calm, worn around the edges. You're not done yet. I turned, but there was no one. Just the sea. Just the echo. Then, faintly, the sound of water breaking against something massive. A distant swell, the hush of surf, and underneath it, the slow, steady thrum of a diesel engine, fading. Then, silence. Not empty, not peaceful, heavy, like the whole ocean was holding its breath. I don't know how long I drifted, but I knew this. The Catherine Starr didn't disappear. She waited, she remembered, and maybe she never needed saving. Maybe she just needed a name. And mine was already written.